there's a strength in coming together as a renewable energy market here, because really what we need to be saying to people is loud and proud, right? We're deploying now. This is where your supply chain should be looking to do business next.
Welcome everyone. This October we have the 2026 Renewable Energy Expo, where the wind, the solar and the storage industry are coming together. They're no longer separate stories. They're one ecosystem driving our clean energy transition. So here we have Noel Cunniffe from Wind Energy Ireland, CEO. We have Ronan, the CEO of Solar Ireland, and we have Bobby Smith, the head of Energy Storage Ireland. So to kick it off, I want each of you to think of one breakthrough technology or trend that will define Ireland's energy future in the next decade. What would it be? Let's start with you, Noel.
I think a big one is actually in Bobby's area. I think long duration energy storage is massive. We all know grid capacity is a real challenge that we're going to have to overcome here in the next few years, and it'll help enable offshore wind, onshore wind, solar. So trying to find a home for as much of the energy supply as possible, I think, is a big one.
I think that the rapid deployment of solar and wind without the ability to manage and harness the capacity through LDES, I think is going to be one of the biggest defining rollouts over the next 10 years, because we want to keep rolling out. We don't want to stop deploying renewable energy, but at the moment we're starting to see increases in the likes of dispatch down, and we need to stop wasting some of that renewable energy that we're generating.
Storage, really, we may say, is a secret weapon. What are you working on now that will become a key pillar in the decarbonisation for Ireland?
Yeah, it's been a big success story. Like just as of last year, we were able to account 1 gigawatt of energy storage, battery storage operational on the grid. And that's happened in a relatively short space of time, just a few years from about 2020, 2021, developing those projects. It's been a massive success story for Ireland. That's helped us integrate large volumes of wind and solar electricity on our grid. Where we're looking to get to over the next 5-10 years is what we do to develop that market even further and really drive growth in longer duration forms of batteries and newer energy storage technologies. So just to put that in context, most of the batteries today can store and discharge energy for about half an hour to 1 hour, max 2 hours. And that's very useful for those very short duration frequency events that the system often sees. But the question is always, what do we do when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine? Where do we get our energy from? And right now that's gas, but we want to obviously transition away from that as quickly as we can. And energy storage is one of the key solutions to doing that. So over the next few years, we want to develop a long-term route to market for long duration energy storage. So battery storage durations of 4 to 8 hours, and then technologies that can go even beyond that can store and discharge energy for days to get us through those really low wind or low solar events that we might see in future.
In terms of capacity from an onshore wind perspective, and obviously the ambition that we have from an offshore wind perspective, what's your top priority for the industry right now?
I think we're entering into a really exciting 2-3 year period. So we're coming off the back of hitting a milestone in 2025 of 5 gigawatts of onshore wind energy installed. We have the phase 1 projects all in planning right now. We have the momentum of the Tonnua auction as well off the south coast of Ireland for offshore wind energy. 2026 and 2027 I think are going to be big years, just to take onshore wind for a second, in getting back into the steady rhythm of a lot of construction starting to happen. We're coming through periods of 2024 and 25 where construction activity was quite low because of slow planning activity in 2020, 2021. Now we're starting to see 400, 500 megawatts in construction again. We think that that's going to grow and grow over the next few years. And I think we're probably not on track to hit our 9 gigawatt target, but we won't be too far off it in terms of hitting it in maybe 2032, 2033. And then for offshore wind energy, massive year. As you know, Vanessa, with the phase 1 projects all in planning at the moment with An Comisiún Pleanála, we think this is the year for the first consents to start coming out. Once we get some projects out of there, that'll be really exciting because they can start engaging with the supply chain, and that's where events like the Expo become so important. So getting a couple of projects through consent this year, understanding how they'll be connected onto the grid will be really critical. And then just understanding what the future for offshore wind energy looks like as well.
So I think moving on to solar, what's the future? Well, you've already been so successful.
25 was a big year for solar, right? We hit over 2 gigawatts of AC capacity delivered last year. We actually hit 1 gigawatt of rooftop solar in the residential market and the commercial rooftop market. And so I think that it gives a bit of breadth to the industry as well, right? Where we're in people's homes. Minister O'Brien supported through the SAAI the retention of the residential grant at existing levels. So that helps to continue to stimulate that market. There's good grants in place for the commercial rooftop space. So we should see a good bit of momentum there. And similar story in wind, we've moved out of an awful lot of the planning phase and that kind of, I call it like almost like a working capital event, right? But we're now moving into project delivery. Yeah. And so if you look at it, we hit 2 gigawatts probably in and around October, November last year. We released our scale of solar report about 2 months before that. And so I think we commissioned 200 megawatts in that space of time, between residential, commercial, and the utility scale stuff. So we're seeing that momentum. I'm visiting solar farms in a moment where we're looking at projects that are all on the 110 network now, right? So we're not seeing those 10 megawatts, 20 megawatts, we're seeing 170 megawatts of DC that is already in construction. Some of it's actually being commissioned this month. So again, I'd say we will probably, I don't want to predict it, but I would imagine we will hit another large milestone this year. And then there's enough projects now consented that are now moving into construction where we're looking good for our 8 gigawatt target for 2030. So I think the momentum is continuing. And I think that what's important now is that as a renewable energy market, that we're sending out signals at a European level that says that we're here to deliver, right? We need to send out market confidence that says our supply chain, institutional debt, that this is a place to come and do business. Ireland's actually currently the 5th highest deployment rate of solar across the EU at the moment. So there's quite a big focus has shifted here, because once we became a 1 gigawatt market, it kind of put us onto a little bit of visibility. By the time we're done, if we hit the 8 gigawatts of 2030, we'll actually have the 3rd highest solar penetration per capita in Europe.
Bobby, I've got a question for you. What does the whole energy system thinking mean in practice for your members?
So I think, traditionally some areas have been siloed. Like when I look at wind, particularly, like the planning is the big challenge for wind farms. Getting through the planning system, it's a big challenge, and that's where rightfully a lot of the focus of the wind energy industry is at the moment. But energy storage is route to market right now. There's 10 gigawatts of energy storage projects in development, over half of that already through planning. So 5 gigawatts currently consented of the battery storage pipeline. Those projects are ready to go, but there's just no feasible route to market at the moment. So when we look at our challenge, it's about how do we marry these two together. So there's lots of wind in planning. Battery storage can help integrate that into the grid, same with solar. But without the route to market to do that, how are we going to deliver that energy storage? So we look at things like hybrid solutions, for instance, making much more effective use of our grid connections that are existing or already or will be built. And so we coordinate and collaborate a lot on advocating for things like changes to policy to enable hybrid connections, or changes to policy to enable a more effective route to market for battery storage to deliver on those integration challenges for wind and solar. So I think it's about us kind of looking at, we each have individual challenges, and of course we're rightfully going to advocate to solve those, but how does it all fit together to lead to like one overall coordinated energy system solution? And that is things like hybrid solutions, that's things like routes to market, planning challenges for different types of technologies.
We're all on the same journey together. Wind, solar, storage. We're all working towards an Irish electro-state, a nation powered by clean, affordable energy. There's huge demand growth expectations with electrification of heat and transport. The new LEU policy that's just after coming out is going to mean more growth in that. So we need a combination of wind, solar, storage. We can't just do it by ourselves. All of these technologies are going to need to work in collaboration. And the good thing is that all of our members completely endorse that, and they believe that too. And many of the developers that are developing wind, they're developing storage, they're developing solar. The supply chain, there's huge commonality across the entire industry. So getting everybody together under one roof for 2 days has huge value propositions, both in Ireland and the international market. For offshore wind energy, we're going to need a lot of expertise from countries like Belgium, Netherlands, the UK, the Nordic region. So having everyone together under one roof to be able to do deals, sign agreements, make new contacts, it's hugely valuable.
Yeah, and I think we need to be realistic, right? We're a little island at the side of another bigger island, at the end of a large continent, right? We're all the way out there. And I think that there's a strength in coming together as a renewable energy market here, because really what we need to be saying to people is loud and proud, right? We're deploying now. okay? This is where your supply chain should be looking to do business next. So whether storage, solar or wind is the solution to the problem is irrelevant, right? The whole point here is that we get to the destination in whatever form we must to get there, right? That's the objective here.
Anyone who's interested in renewable electricity should be there. If you have a business, a product or a service you want to sell and you work in renewable electricity, this is the place to be. It brings all the supply chain, wind, solar and storage in one place. And then if you're just generally interested in renewable electricity, we're going to have talks, discussions throughout the day where you can learn what's going on, get it all in one spot, speak to everyone you want to speak to in one place. I agree with Ronan, even if I wasn't working in the sector, I'd be there.